Hey, today on the show, we've got Matt Hurt with Daniel Defense. We're talking Daniel Defense rifles, but also new Daniel Defense suppressors. This Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Franklin Armory. Welcome into Gun Talk Nation. Today on Gun Talk Nation, I'm not alone. How about that? Good. In the studio, Matt Hurt, Daniel Defense. Welcome in, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you having us.
Yeah. So you're in town because we're doing a class. We should talk about that. We have this new training facility, and Daniel Defense is sponsoring a carbine class, but it's interesting to me because you guys are such like a high-end AR manufacturer. And this is Carbine Essentials. This is kind of a class. Look, anybody can learn something. It doesn't matter your skill level, but it's kind of hey, let's start out from the basics.
Right. It's such a good reminder, though. I was telling the guys outside, even I've been with the company for 9 years, and it's always worth going back to that. It's always worth going back to the basics and learning the basics and reminding yourself the simple steps to learn how to operate and manipulate this rifle.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy it. I love going back and doing this. This is great.
Well, Serena always says, what does the football team say when they lose a game? The coach says, we're going to go back to the basics. He's like, well, why, if the basics were so important, why did we leave them in the first place? Right. I mean, Daniel Defense to me is an interesting company because the firearms industry is made up. There's certainly a ton of innovation, and especially in the last 10, 15 years, a ton of innovation. But it's also made up of these companies who are 100, 150, 200 years old. Mm-hmm. And you guys are like this big company in our world that's not necessarily that old. There's a little bit of a history of how you guys got there.
Yeah. So we're essentially about 25 years old. Mm-hmm. We started out, Marty Daniel started out as just an accessories company. Mm-hmm. He had a flat top Colt SP1 lower, and he needed a big hole upper. So he found a manufacturer that was able to manufacture 100 big hole uppers. Well, he only needed 2 or 3. So he sold them quickly. That just spiraled and gave him an idea that, man, there's probably more to this market than what we're thinking here. So, he did the sling loop attachment for the rear receiver plate. That was a new, and before then there weren't any QD socket holes for rifles. So just these small accessories that he kind of grew the company on.
Well, and they're guns that, I mean, it's kind of an AR that people aspire to, I think, for in the AR world, because you do have all these upgrades that, I mean, this is what happens if you have success and you blaze a trail, then people start copying it perhaps. But now it's like you guys were making these guns that were like all these upgraded things that were basically standard. Mm-hmm. So if somebody says, well, okay, there's this gun that cost half as much as the Daniel Defense, right, how do you guys explain the value proposition and why somebody would want to step up to that?
There are 2 ways we explain it. One is there are statistics out there that show that first-time buyers who buy a very basic AR-15, mm-hmm, 80% of those users will go back and add or replace what's already on that gun. So what we wanted to do is design a platform of M4s, AR-15s, that met those requirements right off the bat. It's a little more. You're going to pay a little more for the product, but in the end, you're going to have what you want to begin with.
It's what you would have built.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So you're saving time and money in the long run. Secondly, we wanted to create products on these guns that are all made in-house that we can control the quality on. So we have very, very tight tolerances on our guns, and you can feel that when you get behind them.
So like, right. So one of the great things about AR is you can customize an AR. And also because of that, there are a lot of, I'm doing the finger quotes, manufacturers, right, who are builders. Basically, they don't actually like make anything, mm-hmm, but they do assemble guns. What you're saying is you guys are actually making a lot of the parts that maybe perhaps others would just buy.
Their source. Absolutely. And that's not a bad thing. There's a lot of great OEM manufacturing out there that AR manufacturers are using to build on their guns. We just prefer, we have almost 300,000 square feet of manufacturing facility. just outside of Savannah, Georgia. And we're able to have the machines to do everything from barrel manufacturing to uppers and lowers to hand guards to all the essential parts that make that gun do what it needs to do.
And like you said, I guess because of that, it fits together
right
in just a perfect way.
Exactly. Yeah, we our goal is that consumers buy these rifles and never feel like they need to change anything on it.
Okay. All right. But there's always that guy.
There's always that's why ARs are so popular.
Like, I just spent all this money on a really nice AR, and then I'm gonna tweak it. I'm gonna upgrade it, or change it, whatever. Right.
Yeah.
One of the things you guys are known for are your barrels.
Yes.
And barrels, it's kind of a funny thing. I think even people who are maybe perhaps novices could agree. Yes. Okay. Barrels are important, but how and why and how do you tell a good one from maybe not as good a one? I mean,
yeah, well, it comes down to both quality and manufacturing. We make a barrel that's very, and I told our class earlier today, it's a very unique process. We cold hammer forge the bore. Many cold hammer forged ARs out there. So we hammer forge the bore, the lands and grooves. But what we do to finish that process is we back the mandrel out and cold hammer forge that chamber at the same time.
Describe the cold hammer forged. Like, describe what that looks like. I've seen it, and it's really cool to see.
Yep.
What is that? What are you actually doing?
So we take a barrel blank that's about 14 to 18 inches. It's a raw steel. We run a hole through the middle of that barrel blank and a mandrel with the reverse lands and grooves. It looks like a pencil. It goes down that bore. It goes into a forge machine with 4 hammer forges that are about 75 million pounds per forge or per hammer.
75 million pounds of force.
You don't want to get your finger stuck in that. Yeah.
It won't be stuck for long.
No, it won't. So it hammers the lands and grooves down the bore. When that mandrel almost backs out of that barrel, it's going to stop, and the chamber's built into the mandrel. So it hammer forges the chamber for the final process. So the benefits to that is you get a hardened barrel. Obviously, you're hammer forging it, but we're also hardening the chamber at the same time. It's a process that's not done across the board. It's not a standard in the industry, but it is a process that makes our barrels very, very long lasting and also very accurate.
Is that a custom made mandrel to have the chamber and the lands and grooves there?
We have the mandrels made for us based on specific specifications, both on caliber and barrel twist.
That's really cool. Yeah. I don't think I was fully up on the chamber being hammer forged. So you guys, obviously they can buy guns from you, but you've kind of expanded beyond ARs. I mean, first off, you've expanded to other guns, right? You have a bolt gun.
We do. Yeah. So one of our goals for the next 5 years is to really expand our offering and offer multiple platforms. So we're constantly working on what those are. Some I can talk about, some I can't. But the bolt gun is one that we released a couple of years ago. I feel personally like we've really debunked the myth that you can't have an accurate hammer forged bolt gun. The bolt guns that we have are guaranteed at half a minute or better at 100 yards. They are absolutely phenomenal for accuracy. So
super high quality. No, I would describe it as kind of like a gun that makes no apologies, right? Like we're not going to apologize for the price, and we're not going to apologize. We don't have to apologize for performance because it's there.
Right.
So, but when you want something really good, and there's some things, you guys, this is not just, we got some barreled actions or whatever, or just some actions and started doing it. I mean, there's some things that you changed in the design, or I guess created a design that was a little bit different. Some things that could be done with that bolt gun. Yeah.
The feature set on that bolt gun is pretty extensive. Our engineer is a PRS shooter. So, we threw him in and he was happy to swim in those waters. We didn't know as much about it. He did. So he put a lot of his heart and soul in that design. One feature set is the ability to swap out barrels. The barrels come manufactured with a barrel extension and a centering pin, just like an AR. So guys in the field can take that handguard off or the stock out, and with a wrench, unlock that barrel nut essentially, and pull that barrel out. If they're running a 308, they can drop a 6.5 Creedmoor in there, wrench it back up, and they're back in their field.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you guys, we're talking about Daniel, right?
Yes.
Daniel, the engineer. Like, this guy is super engineer, super nerd when it comes to like PRS stuff.
Yes.
I mean, fact of the matter is he wins a bunch of matches too. He's a really good shooter.
He's a great shooter. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he looks like a woolly mammoth.
Yeah. It's not who you would expect, right? You're like, is he a lumberjack? Like, what is this?
Yeah. I hope he sees this. Absolutely.
But then you go, oh crap, he really knows his stuff.
Yes.
So we should probably, first off, I'm going to sell some soap. We'll do a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the newest thing that you guys just released this week. Everyone's talking about shooting 1,000 yards, 1,500 yards. Long range shooting is all the rage, and Ruger has a new gun for you. It's from the Ruger Custom Shop, and it's the Ruger Precision Rifle, RPR, but this one is in 6.5 Creedmoor. Comes with a Trigger Tech trigger, heavy contour barrel, barrier stop built in on the front of the magazine well, Magpul, MOE, K2 grip, just all kinds of bells and whistles. So if you're thinking about getting into the long range game, or you want kind of a turnkey rifle, check out the Ruger Precision Rifle in 6.5 Creedmoor from the Ruger Custom Shop. Franklin Armory. Let's talk about Franklin Armory. They're based in Nevada. They specialize in making quality firearms as well as other things like their binary firing system, some innovative stuff like the Reformation and the Providence, also the F-17 series of rimfire rifles in 17 Wisdom, and just kind of a very freedom-loving company. The people I've dealt with are all about freedom, all about guns, and innovating and doing some fun things. Also, 100% American-made parts and materials. Check them out over at franklinarmory.com. New stuff from SAUER. I tell you what, these guys keep cranking them out. The new P320 AXG Combat. This is from the SIG Custom Works, and this is kind of a compact 4.5-inch barrel AXG, which means we're talking a stainless steel frame, a stainless steel material, FCU finish, the slide, the finish, all that stuff, and it's an AXG, so this is a pretty tricked out gun. It's obviously optics ready. The Combat comes with the extended threaded barrel on there, so you can throw a silencer on there. But check it out over at sigsauer.com. New from Springfield Armory is the Hellcat Pro. Yeah, it's been out a few months, and I shot it a little bit, really liked it. Obviously, the Hellcat has been making waves as far as a compact concealed carry type gun holding plenty of ammo. Well, now they've made it a little bit bigger, class leading concealability and capacity. The new Hellcat Pro is a compact pistol, still considered compact, but it offers 15+1 capacity, smaller footprint than any other gun in its class, optics ready, equipped with a versatile accessory rail and hammer forged barrel. This is a shooter, and everybody who shot it around me really enjoyed it. It's a fun gun. Go check it out. The Hellcat Pro from Springfield Armory, springfield-armory.com. So another area for you guys that it's not even guns. You're not new to silencers.
Right.
But we've got some new silencers from Daniel Defense here.
We did. As you recall, and some of our listeners will remember, we had a Daniel Defense Wave suppressor. It was a 3D printed model.
Yeah, really innovative.
Very innovative. Wasn't the first to ever do that, but it was probably the first that ever did it in mass quantities that I know of. It was a great can. But we felt like there were some feature sets that we were missing out of that. So we've since brought out a new line.
And I'm loving what is happening with suppressor technology these days. It is, I was joking with you. One of the things, if you have a silencer or suppressor and you've been doing this for 10 plus years, there was the whole proprietary thing. And my joke was always like, why can't these guys all just get along? Because I've got to have the special 51T or the special silencer co or the special this or that. But all right, so I'm kind of jumping ahead, but talk about, we've got two of them here. So if you're watching the video, you can see, I mean, to me, they do look good, but suppressors are tubes. So, I mean, explain a little bit more what people can't see.
Yeah, absolutely. So the suppressor line's called the Sound Guard. We have 3 different models out right now. One is the titanium model. This is about 15 ounces. It's really designed for precision shooting. If you have a bolt gun, you have a hunting rifle that you want to do low volume with, it's still a very durable can, but it's really designed for the precision guy out there. You'll notice the ports around the end of all of these cans.
Yeah, it's like kind of on the end cap.
That's right. Yep. Those are gas ports, essentially. Okay. So it's just going to let the gas escape out of the end of that suppressor and prevent a lot of it from blowing back down into the suppressor and therefore into your gun.
So we should talk about that, because you look at the ports and you say, well, let's gas out. My brain, and I'm not an engineer, goes, well, isn't that going to make it louder? Mm-hmm. Yep. And in the end, it's like, well, yeah, but there's a different goal that I'm hearing more about, trying to reduce back pressure. Back pressure being the gases that are coming back if you've never shot a suppressor, especially on an AR platform or semi-auto type platform, you'll notice that the gases do come back, maybe come through the ejection port or other places. Mm-hmm. And you may, depending on what you're shooting, you may notice it on you're wearing eye protection, but you may notice, you may feel it. Mm-hmm. What's the movement there? I mean, I'm hearing that from other can manufacturers.
So over the past, I would say 2 years, we've been working with a lot of military and law enforcement agencies that have started looking at studies. I mean, suppressors in general use, haven't been around that long, but they're starting to study heavy use shooters using a suppressor. And what they're finding is pretty startling. The amount of lead that these guys are eating while they're shooting their gun is pretty scary. And so I think the trend is really being driven from agencies or departments that are going to be behind that suppressor for an extended period of time, and they need that gas to go somewhere else. So when
probably for the hobbyist shooter, they're probably not shooting as many rounds, where maybe it's not a big concern. But I mean, look, we see this all the time in our world, right? Yeah. The LE or government they have these specs, these determinations. They want this particular product built, whether it's a gun or a scope or a silencer. Yep. And then it starts trickling down to, you know, us regular folks.
Right. Yeah. Right? So from a civilian side, the benefits are not only less gas in the face, but, you know, you're going to see less dirty bolt carrier group. I mean, that gas is getting exposed somewhere else. So you're going to run a less dirty gun. So you're going to need to clean that a little bit less.
Yeah. Because yes, putting a suppressor on a gun, it's going to make it dirty.
Right.
I mean, you can look at the ammo, and the ammo's dirty. Exactly. That's sitting in your magazine
and your face. I mean, you see that. So, so there's some benefits on the civilian side as well. But you know, from years to come, I think we're going to see the transition on suppressors to get more and more into that pass through or flow through technology that allows that gas to go somewhere else.
Yeah. And there's a compromise there.
There is. Yep. You're going to lose a little bit of sound integrity. So, you know, it's still a very quiet suppressor. If you shoot this can versus unsuppressed, you're going to see a major difference. So it's very, very safe to shoot. But again, what we wanted to do was add some gas mitigating features on these cans. What we also did is increase the diameter of the can.
Yeah, this is a fat dude.
It's a fat dude. Yeah,
which is good. It increases volume.
That's right.
Helps. Yep. So now you're reducing some sound reduction. Reducing sound reduction. Does that make sense?
I think.
You're losing some sound reduction when you reduce back pressure. But then you make it fatter and increase the volume, and now you're gaining some sound reduction. Is that fair?
It is, yeah. And you're also able to cut down on the length a little bit. So that helps a lot. It's a 1 3/4 diameter suppressor. Another feature, if you were to call it, they all are going to come direct thread, right? We wanted to go into more of a standardization. And I know
Yes,
you're going to bring that up.
Listeners rejoice. Don't worry. He's like, well, I'm kind of locked into my. No, you're not locked in.
Yeah,
you can choose this.
So that was another very high priority that we as a company wanted to have, is to adapt to certain mounts out there that folks may already have in their library.
Yeah.
So it has a 1 3/8 threaded back end. So for guys that want to ride, hub mounts or chemo mounts or name them, they can just take that threaded part out, screw their mount in, chemo mount, and it's going to play very well with their other mounts.
That is just a big deal. So we've got a couple flavors here: 5.56 can, a 30 cal can, shorter, longer. And then you said this is titanium, and this one is obviously not. It's a little
heavy
heavier.
Stainless steel. It is not a light can, but it's also a heavy use can. So
super durable.
For guys that have run some other well-known heavy use cans, you'll notice the weight is a little bit heavier on those cans. That's because it needs to hold up to a lot of fire.
Yeah.
So full auto rated, no barrel minimum. The one you have here is a 5.56 dedicated, which means it's got a 5.56 thread, 1/2 by 28,
right,
and also a bore hole of meets 22 caliber specifications. Okay. So we have the same can that's also a 30 caliber heavy use can. You can run that on any length barrel, 308 if you want. You can run it on a 338. It doesn't matter. It's going to withstand the product. Another advantage is it's got our name on it, and we will warranty anything for the life of it. So
really,
we'll take care of it. Something happens to it.
Matt, people screw up.
Hey,
stuff,
listen,
right?
I've seen it in 9 years. I've seen a lot of it. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. They're going to be shooting some weird, wrong, pitch, wrong thread, count, wrong, put it on wrong.
Yep.
Dan Fence has your back when you screw it up.
If you have a 30 caliber rifle, please don't thread that 1/2 by 28.
Yeah.
So you will make a 30 caliber suppressor really quick.
It'll fly off your gun.
That's right.
What are we seeing with suppressors these days? I mean, you guys certainly examine the market. I mean, is it still a hot thing? Are people buying the heck out of these?
I think so. I think more now than any time. It's a prime example. If you put a new shooter on the line and you put a gun without a suppressor in their hand, one of the things that makes them a poor shooter is just the noise and the volume and the violence to that. You put a suppressor on there and that goes away. And so you train really good habits with a suppressor. And so it's great for new shooters. It's great for guys that are hunting.
Absolutely.
There are a million different benefits to that.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it over the course of the last couple of years. I would say more of the hunts I've done have been with a suppressor, and it's just great. I mean, it's certainly not quiet. It still makes a noise, but it's like the animal can't tell where it's coming from.
Right. Yep.
And certainly if you're doing something where there's multiple targets like coyotes, hogs, you a lot of times will be able to shoot that second or third animal because you have a suppressor on. They don't necessarily take off right as fast.
Well, if you're a shot like me, you need to have the opportunity to have multiple
follow-up shots. Yes,
yes, exactly.
So, I mean, I wasn't gonna, but it's like, it's great for follow-up shots. We need follow-up shots is what I'm trying to say.
I need follow-up shots.
So you're participating in this class.
Oh yeah.
And people think like, oh, you work for Dan Defense, you just all the time. But like, I mean, what are you excited about in doing a rifle class?
I think just being on the range, with consumers and getting their feedback while I'm here is really important. But again, I spend a lot of time on ranges all over the country, and rarely do I get a whole lot of trigger time.
Right.
And so
you're working.
This is a great opportunity for me to both work and continue to learn more about the platform. And I think that the minute we get to a point where we think we know everything, is the moment you really fail. So, continually just honing that skill and understanding how the weapon works.
You gotta get out there and use it. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a little fun side thing that I enjoy is when we go to different media events and stuff, and it's something like this, a class that's a
Mm-hmm.
couple days, and someone else from the company comes, they'll send an engineer or
Right.
they'll send the web guy, and usually they'll start making comments where like the engineer will go, I don't like where we have this safety on
Mm-hmm.
this gun,
Yep.
or why is the grip angle like this on this pistol? And because
Mm-hmm.
I know it looks great on the spreadsheet or in the factory, but
Mm-hmm.
go shoot 1,000 rounds
That's right.
and see what you think. Are those sights, do you love them still? Right.
Right.
Or, like the Webby guy going, oh, there's a better way to tell our story. Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's or maybe it's, oh, not everyone is military background. I mean,
Right.
look here. I mean, gosh, the students we have at this class, I mean, it's a variety of skill levels,
Mm-hmm.
but I would say 2/3 of them are pretty novice.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of just, I have an AR or I've shot a few ARs, but
Yeah.
never done a multi-day class.
Yep. Yeah. And listen, I tell everybody, if it's legal in your state, you have every right to own an AR. I think everyone should own an AR. I also think with that responsibility is to go and use it. Right?
Mhm.
Find out what you don't like. Find out what you need to tweak. Find out if there are any weak spots on that rifle that you need to fix.
And
use it hard.
become proficient with it too,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
I grew up around guns and shooting
Mhm.
guns and all that stuff, maybe more so than most. But it wasn't a lot of ARs.
No.
There wasn't a lot of like military background in my
Yeah.
family. We were
Yeah.
doing media about guns and hunting and stuff. And the controls on an AR are not hard, but they're different
Yes.
than most guns.
Yeah.
And if your only experience with guns is I joined the military, they taught me how to shoot a carbine, you're like, what? This is how guns work. I'm like, no, dude, that's not how guns work. I've shot all the shotguns and bolt guns and pistols, revolvers, lever guns.
Mhm.
AR controls are different.
It is. It's a machine.
Yeah.
A lot of moving parts on it. And, I take my personal gun to every demo that we have. I want people to shoot that as much as they shoot all of other Daniel Defense rifles. So that's important. I want to make sure that gun runs good. It just, unlike a lot of other platforms, the more you shoot that AR, the better it feels. It just breaks in and it's smooth. So, man, the more you shoot it, just you'll enjoy it more and more.
So you guys do all these nice features.
Mm-hmm.
Is there what's your favorite that you guys put into it that you feel like makes a difference for your shooting?
From a platform standpoint or a part on the gun?
Like a part or a feature or something that really is helpful to you, you think?
So one of the biggest upgrades I think that we offered about a year ago, started offering a year ago, is our grip and rip charging handle. That's a fully ambidextrous charging handle. Benefits to that is if a lot of guys like to hunt with the AR, so they have a scope up top.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get two fingers under that charging handle. With the ambidextrous charging handle, you grab it with one hand and rack that bolt. It makes things way easier. From a stability standpoint, our bolt up system is very, very important. It's 4 lug bolt up. That handguard's not going to shift at all.
And that's unique to Daniel Defense.
It is. Yeah. You'll find, and that's one way to identify a Daniel Defense very quickly is you'll see the 4 bolt up lugs. That. We have a new model that we launched at SHOT Show this past year. It's the R3 line of guns. Consumers have been asking for ambidextrous features on the lower. So
look, I'm left eye dominant.
There you go.
I shoot from the left shoulder. I love an ambi gun, but I will say, even if you're right-handed, you could benefit from an ambi gun because just like you're talking about, charging handle is one area that's a big deal. But again, going back to the controls on an AR are different. Having ambi controls for bolt lock, slide release, those things on both sides of the gun, it gives you flexibility in the ways to run it. The other thing that I'm coming to love, and there's just a lot of there's some good parts being introduced in our world, is a really good muzzle brake because it makes me look like a good shooter.
Right.
It's just like, wow, look at that. You're just going boom, 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 boom. The gun isn't rising. There's no muzzle rise. There's not a lot of recoil to it. Yeah. They're loud. The effective, the louder it is, the more effective it is in general.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And I don't know. I'm probably somebody could write in and tell me why I'm wrong on this, but I don't have as much of a need for a flash hider Like I'm not trying to hide my flash. I
Right.
don't shoot a lot at night.
Yeah.
And, once the hogs see the flash, whatever. But you know what else is a really good flash hider?
There you go.
A suppressor. Awesome flash hider and awesome for reducing recoil.
It's the perfect combination for for everything that you're asking for. We offer some of those we call them recoil mitigation mounts, but for guys that want to compete, run and gun, 3-gun competition, that recoil mitigation's everything.
Oh yeah.
And to have those mounts available to run. Now, you don't make any friends at the gun range when you're shooting.
I'm sorry. They're loud. Yeah.
But they do a great job.
Yeah. So the new suppressor line is called
the Sound Guard.
Sound Guard.
And each
line. I can't believe you guys were able to get that name. That seems like such a good name.
Yep. So the Sound Guard it is.
Trademark guy in me is like, what? How'd you do that?
Exactly. We ran through a lot of names and everybody had something snatched up, but Sound Guard stuck. So
that's good.
SG 5.56. Yep. We also have this in a 30 caliber. It's the SG 30. And then SG 30 Ti. So very original.
Yeah. I like descriptive names. Yes. You understand what the heck you're buying here.
That's right.
Very cool. Matt Hurt, Daniel Defense. Thanks for being with us, man.
Thank you for having me. It's been a great day and we're looking forward to tomorrow too.
Yeah. More shooting to happen. So if you want to learn more, you just type Daniel Defense into your Google machine and look for more classes at Range Ready. We appreciate you listening. We will see you next time on Gun Talk Nation.